I turn now to a discussion on the African Virtual University. The African Virtual University was established as a project of the World Bank, and certainly in partnership with African countries and with partner institutions or universities. It began, I think, at the beginning by focusing on provision of satellite teaching in partnership with those institutions, setting up an AVU network across many countries, and providing certificates and qualifications with the content provided by universities in Australia and in the United States. The idea at that point was ultimately to move towards the establishment of an African virtual university that was Pan-African and continent-wide. But that view has since been revised. It's been revised in a way that to accept that the vision as originally conceived is no longer effective, and that, in fact, a different kind of collaboration and partnership was necessary to develop, and rather to identify, in this case, teacher education, key projects that AVU can advance in partnership with institutions that actually buy into that, and to set up in those institutions centers for learning and collaboration using e-learning and other methods to actually make it work to the benefit of the institutions themselves. In fact, there's been a lot that has been written, assessment that has been done by the AVU itself, by other outside people. It is clearly now accepted that the original vision of the AVU that was based on technology-driven networks across the country was no longer going to work. And indeed, at a meeting we had with the rector of the AVU and Professor Anne Floyd the other day, it's quite clear that it has become quite important that the partnership with the institutions now needed to take a different form, and that that partnership must also include the African Council for Distance Education, and those discussions will continue. And I want to turn the promise and prospect of ODL in Africa. First, ODL in Africa facilitates and enhances access to education, in particular tertiary education, thereby removing the two key barriers to learning, namely lack of funds and location. Second, it is cost efficient and is able to achieve significant economies of scale as it enables institutions to increase enrollments without necessary staff increases. Third, it enhances and promotes quality through the development and provision of learning resources which can be used by teachers and learners irrespective of their location. Fourth, it facilitates and promotes access to lifelong learning, in particular ongoing professional development to those who have obtained formal qualifications but who are required to upgrade their knowledge and qualifications given the increasingly important role that knowledge and the processing of information plays in wealth creation and economic development. Finally, ODL provides a basis for Africa to advance its development goals, to establish its social mandate. This can be done in part by providing an educational model that could reach the non-traditional learners, especially women at home, the unemployed, second opportunity learners, the disadvantaged. This could help bring within the economic and skills net many who may well have been left behind, thus enhancing participation and democratizing knowledge. It provides, in my view, options for new forms of learning that take account of indigenous knowledge and culture-specific advancement of learning, creating creative and innovative means of assessment and an opportunity for relevance in education. I believe that this affirms the people's prior knowledge and skills, affirming their culture, identity, and human dignity, that draws from their history as a positive value, and that cuts to size the prevalent hegemonies that have for far too long denied or undermined Africa's humanity. So the promise of distance education can all too easily, however, be negated by bad practice, as bitter experience in relation to higher education in South Africa has shown. In this regard, aside from the peril of technological determinism, which I've already discussed, I want to highlight other perils that we must guard against, including, amongst others, the emphasis on increasing enrollments with little regard for the quality of the learning experience or the number or quality of outputs. Poor quality of the programs on offer, which bear little or no relevance to skills and the human resource development needs, and inappropriate approaches to curriculum design, development, and delivery. And all of those, in fact, are problems that we experience. On collaborations, I think there is a sense in which many of us in Africa have really emphasized collaborations generally with partners in the North and other countries. But the problem with collaborations within Africa, to a large degree, is affected by the language divide in Africa. The Anglophony, the Lusophony, we call ourselves by all these colonial determinants that we have inherited. Besides that, there is also the participation by various other partners in a way that actually doesn't enhance collaborations and partnerships. UNESCO has launched an e-campus initiative in partnership with the AU. India has initiated a program to supply broadband to selected African countries on the understanding that IGNU would supply learning program content to participating nations. ADEA is involved in ODL initiative with the Association of African Universities, and so it goes on. But at the end of it, none of this actually brings all of Africa together into partnership, and yet it would seem to us the networking across the continent is actually very vital. I want now to talk about UNISA as a case study. The University of South Africa is South Africa's oldest university, established in 1873 and modeled at the time along the lines of London University. But since 1946, for various reasons, UNISA established a correspondence section for students to actually acquire university qualifications by correspondence. And it is, in fact, South Africa's only dedicated open distance learning provider, or open university, if you like. Today, with a student head count in excess of 265,000 students, it still is the largest higher education institution in South Africa, and indeed in Africa.